Today we're taking a look at a new secret dog tag in Battlefield 1 titled A Conflict, and this continues on the story of the secret Masterman dog tag A Beginning from a couple of months ago. At this point in time it's clear that this is BF1's version of the Phantom program, and it's building up to something much bigger. The new dog tag features the skull image that we're all familiar with now, referencing the Phantom program, and with the description, the voices have been silent far too long. A W and possibly H is seen on the dog tag too as a door knocker. WH could be in relation to Wellington House, which was Britain's war propaganda bureau during World War I, led by Charles Masterman. In Battlefield 1's alternate history, it seems that Masterman wasn't just involved with propaganda and instead more spooky, sinister plots. Let's take a look at how to unlock the dog tag then. It's quite complex and only the most dedicated of Phantoms will go through this. All of these steps were discovered by the Battlefield Easter egg Discord community, and I've linked their full guide down in the description below if you'd like to read about it in more detail. Also, you have to do this in a ranked server. It will not work on private passworded servers. Keep in mind too that if the map restarts, everything will change and be reset. You've got to do this in one go and it will take some time. Here we go then. Following the July patch to the game, a coded message was discovered here outside of the chateau on the map Soissons. It's some picture clues with a string of letters. It doesn't make much sense, but the pictures can be interpreted as instructions. As such, if you use a 4-square cipher with the keywords master and man, there's our boy again, Masterman. It was also the last decoded Morse message from the previous secret dog tag hunt. And then if you reverse the remainder of the alphabet, you'll uncover this message. Inside the chateau when all is dark, there you go and you will find the sparks. So let's head into the chateau nearby and you'll find several light sources there. Lights on the walls, ceilings and candle holders. Destroy the lights by shooting them and destroy the candles with melee attacks. When you destroy the last light source, you'll hear some strange noises coming from above you in the attic to indicate that the next step has begun. Now, if you go prone at the bases of the candle holders, you'll see an interact prompt. There are 7 of these candle holders in total in the chateau, and the goal here is to light all 7 candle holders at the same time by pressing the buttons on them. But this is tricky because each candle holder will control on and off states for other candle holders, and also the functions of the interact buttons are totally different every time the map restarts, so there's no surefire guide of showing you how to do this at the moment. Some people have just got lucky with it and managed to light all 7 candle holders in 3 button presses, others have brute forced it through trial and error. My method was to go to one of the candle holders, make a table and colour code it, press the button and note down which candles were affected. The guys in the Battlefield Easter egg Discord are currently working on a better way of solving this part of the dog tag, so keep an eye out on their guide for more details. Luckily for me, on the 10th button press of the same button, all 7 candle holders were lit, and once again, once you've done this, you'll hear a strange noise indicating the next step. Next, if you go outside by the statue here, you'll see that small sandbags have appeared in strange locations on the steps. Very odd. You'll also notice that around the chateau, 16 of these wall panel tiles can now be interacted with. But what do they do? Well, this is where it starts to get really complicated. Inside the chateau there is a black and white checkered floor, and an 8x8 area of this floor right here can be lit up. But how and what do we have to do with it? Remember those panels on the outside that we just talked about? Well, they control rows and columns inside that 8x8 grid. And when you press a combination of 2 panels, it will turn on a light on that grid. If you press the same combination again, the light will turn off. And guess what? The functions of the buttons are different every time the map loads. So just like the candles, you'll have to do some working out on your own to complete the next step. What is the next step then? Well, let's go back to the sandbags outside and take a look at them. The positioning of them seems important in a way, doesn't it? As it turns out, this is a key, and it shows us which lights we need to illuminate on the 8x8 grid inside the chateau to unlock the dog tag. So how do we interpret the sandbags as a key then? Lots of different theories were tested, but it was an Easter egg hunter called Donnie that managed to figure out the correct solution. If you separate the steps into pairs, you can apply an 8x8 grid to them like this. So it becomes 8x8, 6x6, 4x4 and then 2x2. I've taken this screenshot of my sandbags from above using the spectator camera and separated them as such. As you can see, if you get the proportions correct, each sandbag will fall into a square on the grid, and then we can use this as a key for the grid inside the chateau on the checkered floor, and then go about illuminating the correct squares by using combinations on the tiles outside. It's important that when you map out your sandbags or screenshot them from above like I did, use the northeast side of the stairs as the top. This will make things much easier for you in the future. So now we need to work out what effect pressing each of the tiles has on the grid inside the chateau. The best way to do this is to firstly get a map of the chateau where each button is numbered from 1 to 16. This one that Rad Gamer Dan made is very useful, and we'll also need an 8x8 grid to represent the in-game grid. There's a couple of great ones you can use and a much more detailed explanation of this step on the Game Detective's guide that I've linked in the description below. Also keep in mind that the top of the grid was the northeast side of the statue, but the top of the grid inside the chateau on the checkered floor faces west like this. Okay, so figuring out what each button combination does is a simple task, but it will take you a while. Press button 1 and 2 for example, and see if it makes a light appear on the grid inside the chateau. If it does, write down on your grid which one it was and the buttons required to do so, and then pick another combination, say 1 and 3. Or 1 and 5. If they make a light appear on the grid, write it down where it was and what buttons you pressed to do so. Hopefully you're following along. It seems a bit complicated, but in practice it makes more sense. Once you've done this enough times and have labelled all of the rows and columns, you'll be able to deduce exactly which button presses control which lights where the rows and columns intersect. So for example, if you get 2 1s on the same row, you know that that has to be the row for column 1, so you can label it. Or if you get 2 5s on the same column, you know that that has to be the column for button 5. So eventually you'll be able to make some logical assumptions and you won't have to map out the entire grid. When you've completed your grid enough, you'll need to light up the correct lights on it. So using your own sandbag key that we made earlier, remember the top of the sandbag key was northeast, but in the chateau the top of it is facing west. So use the west side as the top. Once you've turned all of the correct lights on from your key, you'll hear a very strange smoke monster style noise and some smoke will appear. Very, very creepy, but what does it mean? Well, I'm sure that we'll find out in the Russian DLC, but now you should have unlocked the new dog tag. It's silver and it looks very cool. I know this is a lot of effort for a unique dog tag, but I'm guessing that eventually this will accumulate in something much bigger and better, like a unique weapon unlock or a special camo. Remember, the dog tag is only awarded to the person who presses the final activation of the light grid. Not everyone in the server is going to get it when it's activated, it's just the last person who presses the final button. Once again, a big thanks to the Battlefield Easter egg community on Discord who discovered this, and also to Donnie for sussing out the grid and the light system and helping everyone out. As I said before, this community have put together an excellent written guide that I've linked down in the description below if you get stuck. Now, whilst we're on the subject of Easter eggs and the like, I thought I'd show you this one too. With the July patch, we also got a new map in the game, Prix des Terreurs. Of course, this is going to set off the budding Easter egg hunters out there, and they managed to find something on the new map too. On the level are hidden vinyl discs. They're really hard to spot and have multiple spawn points, and on them reads Ragtime Dandies and in French Battlefield Dice. If you pick one of these vinyls up and take it to the gramophone near the centre of the map and interact with it, you'll hear a lovely rendition of the Battlefield main theme. Perfect music for war. And that's all for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave a thumbs up down below. That would be awesome. If you didn't enjoy it, a thumbs down. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.